Hey everybody, today we are going to talk about illusions. We have been talking about them for the past week, but we'll review them once again. An illusion is a literary device that an author uses within their work of literature. So it's a choice. They don't have to do it, right? A device is a nice touch that they add to their writing. It is a reference to literature, pop culture, religion, mythology, or history. Okay, there are many different types of illusion. You must understand the reference to understand the point. So the great thing is the more that you read, the more that you watch and do, the better you'll get at illusion, but it takes a while. So, like I said, literary, historical, religious, classical, and modern are all different kinds of illusion. Here's an example of a literary illusion. We see a comic called The Far Side, and she's yelling at him. She says, "What sort of garbage are you filling these kids' heads with this time?" And she knows that he's not telling the truth. She knows because his nose is growing. And it says down here, the caption, Pinocchio in his later years. So this cartoonist is even making an allusion to Pinocchio, that character. Specifically, this comic is alluding to the fairy tale called The Adventures of Pinocchio. Since his nose has grown so long, it means that he is telling his grandchildren stories that are full of lies. So a literary allusion is an illusion that references other works of literature. So it doesn't have to actually be in the book you're reading. It could be in comics that you're looking at. But if this comic artist is referencing a book or a character, then it's a literary allusion. Could be the setting or the conflict from a poem, a fairy tale, a book, a play, or even a nursery rhyme. So there's lots of literary allusions that can be made. An historical allusion is a reference to an important event or person from history. Keep in mind that it could be a negative or a positive event or person. So here's an example of an historical allusion. Right here, we have a painting that was made in 1851. It's called George Washington Crossing the Delaware, and it's by Emanuel Lutz. And it shows Washington and his forces going to attack the Hessian soldiers in Trenton, New Jersey in 1776. So during the American Revolution in the 1700s, right? We were fighting against the British and the Hessians, and we're carrying the flag, all these great things. It's a very patriotic painting. What's funny is and wonderful is that the show Queer Eye is filming in Philadelphia. And here they did these photo shoots for season 5, and they dressed up in Revolutionary War clothes. And they're definitely in this image making an allusion to this particular painting, okay, this Revolutionary War painting. So that's something to keep in mind, that you can see allusions in many different places: artwork, comics. There are also religious allusions. It's a reference to any religious belief or text. So it's not a single religion or a single religious text or belief. There's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism. There are many different kinds of religion out there that could be used for this kind of illusion. So if we look here, we see a comic again from the Far Side, and we see a man standing in a boat with a lot of animals. And he says, "Well, so much for the unicorns, but from now on, all carnivores will be confined to sea deck." And so it looks like the unicorns are the ones that got eaten while they were on this ship, which is kind of funny because, unicorns don't exist. But the cheetahs, look at them. They're looking at each other like, "Uh-oh, we're going to be on the sea deck," because carnivores are meat eaters. They ate the unicorn. Anyways, so in the Bible, a Christian religious book, there is a story of Noah's Ark, and Noah built an ark, a very large boat, even bigger than a cruise ship. He wanted to save as many people and animals as possible because a huge rainstorm was coming. It was going to rain for 40 days and 40 nights. He took 2 of every single animal, and it was, every animal on earth, and basically put them on the ark. This cartoon is making an allusion to this biblical story. Okay, the two animals, Noah, looks like they're on a big ship. Classical allusion, a reference to mythology, for example, Greek or Roman mythology. There are other kinds of mythology, though, right? Norse mythology, if you like the Vikings, you know there's a lot of Norse mythology out there, and like Thor and other movies. So here's a classical allusion. Before the characters in the Sorcerer's Stone go to an underground chamber, they have to get past this three-headed dog. This dog is a reference or allusion to Greek mythology. Cerberus was a three-headed dog that guarded the gates to the underworld in Greek mythology. So here, in this image, from the Sorcerer's Stone, they also made an allusion to Greek mythology, Cerberus. There are also modern day allusions. Modern day allusions are references to popular culture, celebrities, athletes, movies, news, and politics. There's lots you can do with modern allusions. In fact, memes are great at this. Here's an example of a modern allusion. Got little baby Yoda here. It says, when your dad asks you to help with something and he doesn't tell you what to do, so you just stand there like baby Yoda. And so let's explain that allusion. The meme shows a picture of Baby Yoda, and it's from The Mandalorian. The image matches the idea that someone who is in this position wanting to help your dad out, but you're too young, don't know what to do, so you just stand there like a little baby Yoda. Okay, you're just, what do I do? It's so cute. So it's an allusion to The Mandalorian. So let's go review these types of allusion. If we look here, we see a witch staring out the window at two kids who are walking up to a house made out of candy. And her house looks like it's made out of vegetables. And she says, dang, Zelda seems to attract all the little kids. And at the caption at the bottom, it says, later, Edna was forced to sell her Brussels sprout house. So what kind of illusion is that? What kind of illusion is it if it's referencing a popular fairy tale? Here we have a witch again and two parents with their hands on their hips. They're not happy. And it says, now let me get this straight. We hired you to babysit the kids, and instead you cooked and ate them both. So again, another allusion to that same fairy tale, but I thought it was funny that this artist kept referencing it, making an allusion to that particular fairy tale. There is a movie called Chavez. It's a biopic, which means it's about somebody who really existed. And Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta were famous in the 1960s for their civil rights work. They were trying to help farm workers. And so here we see a scene from the movie, and it's making an allusion to a bank they opened. They actually gave out loans to farm workers, and they started their own farm workers credit union, okay, because a lot of people did not have access, people of color, so Hispanic, Latino, Asian people did not have access to mainstream banks. So Chase or Capital One, any of those banks were not lending money as freely to people of color. And so within communities of color, Hispanic, or in this case, it was Mexican American, they would loan money to each other so that they could get a house or they could, buy a car. Okay. And so they were so successful in real life, right? This really happened in 1963. They do this, that grows this bank over to serve over 100,000 farm workers. So this really happened in history. So I just want to give you one more example of it. In 1948, this bank still exists today, the Carver Federal Savings Bank. Their CEO started it off, Joseph E. Davis, along with other religious leaders and community leaders. It opened in Harlem in 1949. So it's just another example that in history, communities of color really came together and raised money for each other. So what kind of illusion is that from this movie? If it's an allusion to something that happened in history, what is it? What kind? Oh, and this is just more proof that it existed. It's pretty cool. Okay. Next, we have a picture of Hitler saluting many Nazi soldiers. And we also have a still image from Captain America. and we see Hydra soldiers that are also all lined up in rows, and they often say things like Hail Hydra, which is very similar to, it's making an allusion to this, the Nazi group who says Hail Hitler. Okay, so this image here is alluding to something that happened in history. So what kind of allusion is that? Here we see an image from Black Panther. This is the group, the Dora Milaje, the Adored Ones, and they are actually an allusion. There really was an elite women's warrior group in history. Okay, this is the Awesome Times article. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but they were the women soldiers of Dahomey. The Dora Milaje are based on a real group of women warriors, the African Military Corps of Dahomey, and these women guarded the king in Benin, which is a part of Africa. And so it's really neat that Black Panther actually used a real women's group from history. It says by the end of the 19th century, over 4,000 women who began training in their teens were a part of these military ranks, and they were used to fight against French colonialist invaders. So it's pretty cool. There's a picture of them to show they existed. So if they were real, like what kind of illusion is that? Mythology? Is that literary? Is that historical? You tell me. Here we have another example of an illusion from a comic strip, and you see a snake talking to a woman, and she's standing in some kind of like garden, and the snake says, well, I'm not sure. I guess it's been washed. We definitely did something similar with Snow White. We saw that she was tempted by an apple. This is from the Bible, so just keep that in mind, because remember, we have all different kinds of allusions from different works of literature and stuff. Okay. In The Lightning Thief and in Harry Potter, the authors use the hero's journey to structure their plot. Both of these boys were ordinary, and then all of a sudden they get a call to adventure. I know you all learned this in 6th grade. It's part of the curriculum, learning the hero's journey. So let's just see. It's an allusion to this work of literature, the Odyssey of Homer. He started off this whole idea of the hero's journey, and many successful authors and even movies, right? If you look at Star Wars, follow the hero's journey. The Lord of the Rings follows the hero's journey. So if you liked any of those, you like the hero's journey. And what kind of illusion is that? Nike was a Greek goddess who personified victory. She like represented victory. And she is represented here in this Nike logo. These are supposed to be like her wings. And so Nike is making an allusion to victory. Like if you wear Nike, you will be victorious. So what kind of illusion is Nike making? That's it. I hope you enjoyed and you have a great day and you did well with your work here.